First, we'll take a look at your face mix. This is about a cubic foot. If you contact us, we'll help you do the volumetric calculations to get everything in the proper order. We'll start with 50 pounds sand. For wet cast, which this is, it's not GFRC, I like to use a coarser grade of sand. If you use too fine a grade of sand, you may end up with plastic or drying shrinkage cracks because the volume's too high. You can use a coarse grain, you can use concrete sand. The only problem with concrete sand is it may have some particles up to 3/8 that might show. So a coarser grade will work better than a fine grade. Maybe not concrete sand unless it's acceptable. 50 pounds stone. This is a starting point ratio. When you pour this mix, you'll say, does it have enough stone? Does it have gaps in the stone? If so, you can alter these ratios a little. Maybe go as high as 40/60. This will depend on the size of your stone, how much the surface area of your stone is, how intense you want the look. This isn't set in stone, it's variable. 38 pounds cement. Or this is cementitious. I like to use a pozzolan, so I'd split this 90% Portland, 10% silica fume. I have a white silica fume that works quite well. This will give you excess of 10,000 psi as long as your water cement ratio is low enough. I would shoot for 0.26, 0.28, somewhere there, water cement ratio. To establish that, you simply take 38, if I want a 0.28 water to cement, 38 times 0.28 tells me 10.64 total pounds of water. That would include any water that happens to be in the sand and the stone. If I shoot for a 0.26, 0.26 times 38, 9.88 pounds. So I'm somewhere in that range. Total free water in the mix. The other thing you'll need is Trinic's admixture. Now, we have a wet cast admix, but if you're going to buy one, buy the GFRC and add some plasticizer to it. I would dose the GFRC admix at 2% of the cement weight. And then I'd add plasticizer. So let's see. GFRC admix. 2% of 38. 38 times 2% equals 0.76 pounds for this example. Then you're going to need plasticizer to make this fluid, depending on, if you have to do a vertical, obviously you don't want to put a whole lot of plasticizer, but I would say 0.5% Trinic's plasticizer. 38 times 0.5. 0.5% equals 0.19 pounds. This should give you a water cement ratio of between 0.26 0.28. And that's about it. This admix, since it's such a thin section, will do the same thing it does to your GFRC. It'll not prevent, as long as your mix is right, it will help curing, strength gain, bug holes, all of the above. Our goal is to get this mix in the 10,000 psi plus range. We should be able to do that. Next is the back coat, and then it's on to pouring. Now we'll go over the backer mix. It's, again, about a cubic foot. We have a spreadsheet we can give you that will show you exactly what your costs are, exactly how much you need, and how to dose it. But for rough measurement, let's go with 62 sand, 62 cement. Here again, I'll break this into 90% Portland, 10% silica fume. To that, you need water. Here again, we want a water cement ratio, depending on how you pour it, of about a 0.28. So we'll take 62 times 0.28 equals 17.36 pounds of water. 0.28 water cement equals 17.36 total water, free water. That would include water in your aggregate if you have to. Then we need 3% Trinic's GFRC additives. So 3% of the cement weight will dose in aggregate. Additives. 62 times 3% equals 1.86. 1.86 pounds Trinic GFRC mix. You may or may not need plasticizer. If you want it to be more liquid and flowing, you can put a half to a percent. Be careful to use a percent plasticizer to get very liquid and it'll act as a slight retarder. But you can use a 0.5% plasticizer and make it flow. If you've got a vertical, probably no plasticizer. The only other thing you'll need is glass fiber. Glass fiber is dosed on the total batch weight. Here again, we're going to go with 3% of the total. 62. All you do is take your total, 124, multiply that by 3%. So to make this, we need 3.72 pounds AR, alkali resistant, glass fiber. This is a pre-mix, meaning we're mixing the glass fiber in, so we're not chopping it on the way. It's very simple to do. We're going to use 3/4 inch AR glass fiber, 3.72 pounds. And that's about it. We will coat our samples, mix them. Tomorrow we'll wash them off and show you what it looks like. These are the materials I'm going to use to make my face coat. I got lucky and I actually found these at my local Home Depot. They're Quikrete had them. This is decorative aggregate. It's 3/8 inch pea gravel. You have to be careful. You can't use just any gravel. It has to be a sound gravel. I'm making some assumptions at this point because these are just samples that this is a sound, salt-free, non-reactive aggregate. It looks, just based on my experience, it looks like it is. Here's the sand we're going to use. This sand is a coarse sand. You could never spray a face coat with it, which is better for us. Now it has some small particles in, nothing 3/8, but I'm seeing some eighth inch particles. You could actually use this in your face coat. It does have moisture in, so you have to comp for moisture. Otherwise, we have white cement. You can use white, gray, whatever floats your boat. And then we're going to use white silica fume. You can see we offer a very bright white silica fume. It's very powerful. And Trinic's GFRC admix and plasticizer, and that's it. We'll make a quick sample batch to make sure our ratios are right, and we'll mix it up. Next step is to roll a uniform coat of the form retarder on. And allow it to dry thoroughly. Make sure you get a uniform color all the way around with no white spots. Make sure you let it dry thoroughly before you put the concrete on it. Obviously on a big piece you can use a big roller. And now you can see I'm getting it uniform coverage. Let this dry thoroughly and we're ready to mix our concrete and pour. I allowed my retarder to dry. If you put your concrete on wet retarder, what I've found in the past after doing 10 million square feet is that it eats up into the matrix non-uniformly. So you got to be patient and let it dry. We've got our stuff mixed up for our face mix. I'm going to throw my water, most of it, hold a little back. Now this is my cementitious portion. Got my Trinic add mixes in, everything else. I think we're getting close. What we're looking for is a lot of rocks. We don't want all the rocks to instantly sink or else we've got separation. So we want a fluid mix without separation. Let's see. We're looking pretty damn good right there. I'm going to be real careful pouring this so I don't scratch off the coating. I'm only looking for about a ½ inch, a little over a rock. The mix looks pretty good. Self-consolidating, which we want. It's extremely rocky, which we want. It's almost too rocky, but that's okay. There'll be a heck of a lot of rocks at the surface tomorrow. Now since this is so dense, we don't have to wait. I can mix my back coat right away, dump it right on. This is my back coat mix. I'm going to hold back a little bit of water to cut plasticide. A little more water and it'll be perfect. Throw in my 3% fiber load. First coat is so dense, I'm not really worried about poking through it. Obviously on a much bigger scale, you couldn't pump your face coat, but if you had a pumper, you could pump your back coat or spray your back coat. And you've got a very thin, tomorrow we'll spray off the exposed aggregate. You've got a very thin exposed aggregate panel. This will weigh about, let's see, 3/4 would be about 10 pounds. So this is an inch. This will be about 12 pounds a square foot versus 100 to 150 pounds a square foot for wet cast exposed aggregate. Plus this is very unlikely to crack. There's no saying something will never crack, but I would call this highly unlikely to crack. I don't have a pressure washer. Ordinarily, you could pressure wash these off with a 4,000 or so PSI machine, or you could not use retarder and you could actually sandblast them off. Today we're going to do these the old-fashioned way. We're just going to scrub them with a wire brush and clean them with a hose. We're in a little bit of a hurry to get these out. These are samples for a customer. So we've got them underneath our infrared heat lamp to dry them out quick and cheat a little. This exposure is a 1/8 inch exposure. If you were to do a 1/4 inch exposure, you would see many more of the big rocks. Or an alternate would be the sandblast. But what we're ending up with a building panel that's 1 inch thick. You could do these 5 by 10, however big you wanted them, with a wet cast looking or an exposed aggregate exterior and a GFRC backer on it. I'm just going to roll a coat of stamp shield on now that they're dry to highlight the rocks, make it look nice. Exposed aggregate will suck sealer in. You can see it's already dry because it's three-dimensional. So this will probably eat up 2 coats and still won't have much of a film. And it'll be color enhanced. Totally waterproof. There's 1 coat. I will let that dry about a minute. It's already dry. Sucked it in. Coat 2. And we are done. Cut.